Welcome back to the Bridge Talk Show. And to those that are watching us for the first time, my name is Victor.
As just mentioned, this is the Bridge Talk Show where stories meet. I am Derek. And today we are going to be discussing menstrual equity and the fight for free sanitary products in Uganda. Today with us we have a very special guest and she will introduce herself in a few, and she's going to discuss with us menstrual equity and the fight for free sanitary products in Uganda. What is the way forward? Please introduce yourself.
So my name is Brenda, and I am a finance specialist by profession who has worked closely with young girls. And here we are going to talk about menstruation. Thank you guys for hosting me here at the Bridge Talk Show. I am so honored to be here.
Your profile really makes you the right person to be with us here, and we are really excited to have you on board. And as we go deep into menstrual equity and the fight for free sanitary products. So Brenda, maybe before we proceed with the show, would love you to maybe break down the term menstrual equity.
So according to my own knowledge, menstrual equity just refers to the equal and comprehensive access to these menstrual products and healthy education, healthy reproductive education, and sex education to the young girls, or talk about the girls under their puberty. Just the free access. So if it is accessible and comprehensive to them, that is menstrual equity.
Well, thank you so much, Brenda, on explaining to us how you understand menstrual equity. It is really insightful, and we are sure someone is out there speaking what menstrual equity is. Well, Brenda, I have a simple question for you. Do you think in Uganda particularly menstrual equity has been so much into consideration, more so in our schools? We are seeing many cries maybe from the girl child in schools out there, more so in the rural areas, let's say in Karamoja region. Do you think the government or whoever is concerned has done really enough to see that menstrual equity is put into consideration in Uganda?
And has the girl child been really neglected?
Oh, sure. According to research, menstruation in Uganda has really been handled by the government. We can give it like a 23%, because we've seen our right Prime Minister, Honorable Nabanja, reaching out to the young girls and helping them out. But also, let's give the 80% to the NGOs that are trying to stretch their hand to reach out to the young girls deep down in the villages, one-on-one, to the young girls in schools. We have an NGO called Concern Uganda that reaches out to the women that have given birth, that have gone into their menstruation, take them through family planning, the young girls in schools that know nothing at all about menstruation, have been given sex education, have been taught about their reproductive health. So really, there is work done about menstrual equity, and a lot of products have been given out, more so the reusable sanitary towels. We've seen them being taken to the Upper Karamoja set, or the West Nile. A lot of girls are being helped, and if they are not yet to you, I know they are coming.
Well, you say the sanitary products have been reached out to those that need them, particularly maybe in the more concerned regions, that is the Karamoja, West Nile, but maybe the southwestern Uganda and other regions, let's say the east. But we are hearing a lot of cries. Though you say a lot has been done by maybe those concerned by the government, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, the NGOs, but there is a lot of crying from the girl child. And still in those rural areas where you're saying sanitary products have been provided, where do you think the problem is coming from?
So he earlier asked me whether the girl child has been neglected, and we sure see the girl child hasn't been neglected in certain areas, or to a larger extent certain people do not receive certain things for certain reasons. But when you look at it closely, there is a cry to support the girl child. So sometimes some girls do not really access these things because somehow they may not be invested, or they may not get access to see where this support is coming from, and they may not be reached on one by one, but there is a trial to reach each and every girl in schools and out of schools. So I think our government is quite showing an indication of support. It is showing an indication of interest in supporting a girl child, and also a non-government organization are mostly probably here for the girl child and for the orphans, because we see a lot of them that are calling out to a girl child. Unless otherwise, we need to give more platform to adverts for such organizations, because these young girls may not know about them. So they may not know how to access entrance into such organizations, but yet they are there and they exist and they have these policies and products for them, and they have a lot on table for them. And yet they have not utilized everything that is put on table for them, because they know nothing at all about the organizations. They know nothing at all about whatever is planned for them. So I really think we should give more platform, or even free adverts for such organizations, if that is what is required, so that every girl should know about policies that are going around to support them.
So with the rising cries in semi and rural areas, should we assume that this activity is done once in a while? Because in your statements you mentioned that the government is really reaching out to those areas, yet research and the statistics have it that the cry is much when it comes to the girl child, and at the expense of costs. Do you think the sanitary pads are affordable?
Okay. Putting other factors constant, the government is really trying, or even personnels in the government, they are trying. But this is not a focus area where we focus on how it's operating, because other factors constant, we don't know how it goes. But at least in a budget, every financial year, we see some money is allocated to the youth in which way possible. So putting other factors constant, a lot of challenges happen, and I'm very sure a lot of young girls don't get access to these facilities. But yet the government is trying. But we also advocate for the government to really put in more energy, as it puts in more energy in campaigns and whatsoever, and in providing ministers with the fancy things they have. We really advocate for the government and urge the government to put in as much effort as they put in some sectors, to see that all the girls access these facilities, more so those girls that can't really afford, because they are the majority.
That's true.
So I think the cost of a sanitary towel is fair somehow, somewhere in our city centers, but it's not fair at all in certain areas. And remember, these products come at a certain price, a certain fixed price, that if it is 2,500 in Kampala, same cost in Bundibujo, and same cost in Mbarara, everywhere. But if at all, these sanitary towels can come free of charge, it will be really beneficial to every young girl, because there are young girls out there who do not even know how to use these products. There are young girls out there who have lived in an environment that is scattered. No one really minds about telling them what is happening. No one really minds about, okay, at this age, you're going to be experiencing this. Because some girls really go through education when they have grown, most especially in our rural areas. So by the time they study about reproductive system and what happens with it, they have already experienced menstruation. So that confusion, we really hope sex education is taken to schools, even to girls as young as 7 years, so that they can understand what menstruation is before it happens to them. They can understand how to use a sanitary towel before they really experience menstruation, so that they can have that knowledge. For we all know knowledge is power. So having knowledge is not is not like bringing some huge virus in someone's head. It's just knowledge. Our local parents have an understanding that if they talk about certain things at a certain age, maybe it will bring a certain kind of insect or virus in a child's head, or they'll read about a lot of things. But then it is more important for a child to have knowledge than ignorance, because when the time comes, even if no one is around, they could help themselves out. And also, I would urge these people, the support groups that give young girls reusable sanitary towels, that take them as far as desert areas or those so hot areas, to teach them how to use them, even in times of crisis.
Well, thank you so much. That is, you've talked about the provision of free menstrual products, hygiene, and a lot more. And you've shared a lot of insights. Let's put it on the education level, because menstrual poverty is a big concern in schools at a school level. How do you think menstrual poverty negatively affects the education of a girl child, and how do you think it has deteriorated the rate at which the girl child is elevating academic-wise or education-wise?
So here comes menstrual poverty and how it affects the elevation of the girl child in schools here in Uganda. But I want us to first understand the definition of menstrual poverty. What does it exactly mean? And I want us to be on the same page as we talk about menstrual poverty. So I would request one of us to define menstrual poverty. Let's request Victor to define for us menstrual poverty for a better understanding for all of us.
Well, I'll simply define menstrual poverty as a state where a girl child is unable to access and purchase a sanitary pad for herself.
Oh yeah. You being unable to access a sanitary pad for yourself. Yes, that is categorized as menstrual poverty. And it is really of a bad impact and a very big impact to a girl child who really goes through menstrual poverty. Because I assure you, in certain schools where students or young girls do not have these menstrual products, when the time reaches and they are at home, they will not tamper with going to school, because they will wait for those 3 to 5 days, stay at home, wait until menstruation is done, and then they will go back to school. And that is a very bad impact to the young child, girl child, because no one is going to repeat for you what was going on in school and how you're supposed to read and no one is going to teach you again 5 days work or whatsoever. So menstrual poverty is really a bad impact, and it is on a larger extent in those rural areas where young girls can't access these products. And we urge the government to really reach out, because we think we've seen the government reaching out to these young girls and give them seasonal menstrual products. And then how about the other seasons? Because what these products do is to depreciate. They don't appreciate. So when a girl child uses it for like 5 months, the reusable pads, I am very sure it's going to depreciate and she will need new products. So we urge our government.
No, Brenda. Don't you think before the government reaching out to all those schools, when it comes to the policies, to already the existing policies, don't you think they are naturally weak when it comes to menstrual equity?
So I think the government is doing what it can, keeping other factors constant.
How is it doing?
Because if there was nothing done at all, we wouldn't see any progress. We wouldn't see anything like a reusable sanitary pad. We wouldn't see such factories appearing to give us these sanitary products.
Wait, Brenda. The companies are available, right? That is right. But most of the companies that produce sanitary products, they don't offer them at a free cost. And we are advocating for free sanitary products so that there is gender equity. We fight menstrual poverty.
Menstrual poverty.
So actually, these companies are doing what? Are offering them at a price. Maybe they pay revenue to the government, which could be one of the reasons that is hindering what? Which could be one of the reasons that is hindering a wide range menstrual poverty fight, in that the government is earning revenue from this. So don't you think the government has failed to fight menstrual poverty by maybe eradicating companies that produce and offer sanitary products at a cost?
Oh yeah. So I really think these factories that are making these sanitary products make them at a cost. But recently, there is someone who was making these products and making them specifically to be given out, making them specifically for the girl child who can't receive them or access them easily. So challenges will appear. That is one fact for sure. They will appear, and the way we are fighting HIV and any other thing, every other day challenges about menstruation appear. And what we need to do, we as the people who are advocating for a better life for a girl child, we need to keep doing research and reading, because each and every day there is a challenge arising. So as much as these factories are giving us these products at a cost, this is what we also have. So many NGOs that are offering to buy these products and give them away to the girl child they are supporting, or to the orphans they are supporting. And this is what we also have, because we are working as a country where we have to earn revenue, pay taxes, and all that. And yet, we have to help somebody out there. So it is quite challenging, but there is trial, and there is more need for support. We're not saying that this thing is running really smoothly, and you guys that are planning to come and join the campaign for supporting a girl child, you should stop. No, we really need more support so that everyone can be reached on one-on-one.
Brenda, you talked about HIV, and I really want us to relate the HIV and the sanitary pads. Don't you think the same way maybe ARVs are issued out at a free cost, don't you think sanitary pads can be set free so that maybe everyone, every lady, every girl in both urban and rural areas can access the sanitary pads at a free cost?
Oh yeah, how I wish that could happen, honestly. Are you all aware that we have countries that send us ARVs at a free cost. But I don't think we have countries that are sending us free pads. But if we could get one, it is really, really, really an important thing, because now we have had free sanitary pads and we free everyone. Even that is a person that is, let me say, financially stable, they will be able to access sanitary pads at a free cost. Okay, the lines will be so many. As you see, the lines for HIV, ARVs, but still we can work around with that, because we will have the private sector and the public sector where we can access these things. So how I wish certain countries can hear our cry and they really manufacture for us sanitary towels, basically for us, because a lot of girls in Africa are crying out, or in Uganda are crying out for sanitary towels.
Before reaching out to and crying to those countries, don't you think here in Uganda more incentives can be brought up? Because Derek was talking about taxing those private-led companies or industries that produce sanitary pads. Don't you think maybe incentives such as tax holidays, such as maybe, anything that can be done so that those private-led companies can actually start producing pads and selling them at a better
You actually
at a
have
better
a very
cost?
good point. If the government can put incentives like exempting the companies from
Actually,
what? From
an
taxes.
exemption is more better.
Yeah, and so that maybe a pad can even go for 500 shillings, and that is a good point. And actually, before we even reach there, we, as advocates for menstrual equity, in this fight or in this battle against menstrual poverty, we need to be considerate also. These are companies that are paying taxes, as we've already stressed, and if at all sanitary products have been are being offered at a free cost. Remember, these companies are companies that are running on a large scale, perhaps, because menstrual periods are a general thing, more so to the female gender, of course, the female gender. These are companies that employ people, and many people, in sales, in production, in management, and in all sorts. Let's be considerate. Whereas we are advocating for free pads, this company is employing a lot of people, and these are people that are earning a livelihood from this company. Don't you think in advocating for free pads, a lot of companies will collapse and it will leave a lot of Ugandans again at loss?
Before I go to your suggestion, in my opinion, I want you to hear my cry, because menstruation is a natural calling. So I think government must intervene the same way it intervened. I remember some years back when the prices of salt were being, when the prices of, I remember some time back when the prices of salt were high, the government had to intervene and it put a standard price. So similarly, a sanitary pad could as well become a necessity. Why can't that be done?
It is a necessity, though.
If it is a necessity, then why must a child pay for it? Why can't they access it at a free cost?
Our government almost taxes everything. Everything. What doesn't it tax? We are living in a society, economy that pays tax for everything we do. And in these sanitary towels that we always use, there are so many differences. And the reason why the government itself should innovate these incentives for itself is because these people that are manufacturing these sanitary towels put in a lot of effort, because each towel doesn't cost the same amount as another because of different qualities. So you will find that
There is even quality.
yes, you may not know about it, but you will find the government will do what it can, and it will present to you maybe reusable pads. And somebody in a certain category does not want that type of pad. So that's the reason why maybe these factories that are manufacturing these sanitary towels can't be exempted in taxation, because a lot of people go for what they want, are more comfortable using this other towel than the other. So that's the reason why you're going to see there are so many factories, and the government is not going to exempt all of them. But we understand because people put in a lot of effort while making those things, and they'll bring it to you, present it to you, and you will decide the best quality for yourself. However much it is 7,000 and there is one for 2,000, you will choose the one for 7,000 for a reason that is best known to you. But then the government is well aware of certain people that do not have that. They don't have that opportunity to choose quality. So if the government can set up, because you saw Kalamoja was suffering a lot, and there was no food, there was nothing. People were dying of hunger. But then you look at how a certain pastor went there and used the same land in Kalamoja that was available, and the government was seeing it, and he has produced tons and tons of food in the same land. So we urge the government to go to certain areas. Oh, it is actually vivid. They should go to certain areas, set up certain factories, even if there is no improved quality to be put there or whatsoever. But let provision be available.
There is actually something that is worrying and perturbing my mind. Brenda, you talked about quality, the quality of the sanitary pads at the expense of health. What do you have to say about quality? Because maybe I do not understand. When you're to break down quality in a layman's language, quality is either good or bad. Yeah, so at the expense of health. What do you think?
So at the expense of health, of course it's worrying that we may have a mediocrity kind of quality. I'm not going to call it bad, because everyone is fighting as hard as they can to bring out the best they can on table. But at the end of the day, you're going to pull out the best quality. So the reason why the government can't, okay, according to my own understanding, since we run on taxes, that's how we run our economy, and that's how the government is sustaining this economy. It's very hard to exempt such companies that are making good quality sanitary towels from paying taxes, because at the end of the day, a lot of people are going to pull out such sanitary towels that they are no longer making what they want, or they want them to make as much quantity as they need in the economy. So exemption of taxation might be as hard, or keeping other factors constant, we may give them tax holidays or whatever. But as well, talking about the health of a girl child for certain qualities, I think certain qualities are as bad as you may not know. Because at the end of the day, when you're using a sanitary towel, you're actually looking at how many hours you're going to spend in it. Because the reason is you're doing something. A girl child is in class. The reason why we want all these things to be for free is to allow these girls to attain education, go to school, not keep around home, not use clothes and other kind of things, so that they can go to school.
And even have a better, comfortable life.
And also have a comfortable life. But then, someone is going to get a certain sanitary towel at a free cost, and they are going to attend class, have it, because these sanitary towels show indication. You can have it for 2 hours on, until when you get your break. Can have it for 8 hours. But at the end of the day, a girl child will end up with irritations because why? It was not a good quality sanitary towel. So when we look at it, we should draw incentives or innovate ways to bring the best to these young girls, as much as we want it on a free cost or the lowest cost possible. We urge these people who are manufacturing these sanitary towels to improvise ways of cutting down costs. Okay, somehow you might see that cutting out costs will also mean mediocrity kind of quality, but that's not what we want. We've seen, I gave you an example of Karamoja. Karamoja has been going through a lot of suffering with famine for a very long time, and people were actually dying of hunger. And the same land in Karamoja, a certain pastor used, and he grew a lot of food, harvested tons and tons of food, fed Karamoja people, and it is the same land. So we can actually use what we do have to present what is best for our society, to present what is best for these girls, because the government itself needs people like this who have known what to do, who have knowledge about certain things, to put in effort to advise the government to set up factories in areas so that you don't need to transport sanitary towels from Kampala. Think about the cost. So you need to get the cheap ones because you're thinking about the cost. How am I going to transport them up to Karamoja, up to Bundibujo? So we urge our people, because it is the government of the people, to set up these factories to places nearer. Give those youths, young girls, jobs. Let those young girls have practical education. Let those young girls be invested in this thing that is going to be given to them for free. Let them work, and because factories are as good as development, so that we don't have to worry about extra costs that are going to be invested in supplying these sanitary towels for free and whatsoever. So yeah, quality is really, really important. And me as a person, I would advise the government, because we are all looking at it, because NGOs are getting funds or grants from somewhere, but the government, we advise it to look for people who are in this business to advise it. I'm very sure everything will turn out in its best quality.
Thank you so much, Brenda. As we wrap up this episode, of course, this is a fight that we can't win today. But in the fight against menstrual poverty, in the advocacy for menstrual equity, of course, we are seeing the biggest stakeholder being the government. And of course, it is handling a lot of things. Running the whole country is not an easy thing. They have debts to clear. They have the education sector, the health sector, they have the transport sector. They have a lot of things to handle. Before we look any further, or maybe before only putting our concern on them or putting our emphasis on our calls to them. We earlier talked about some NGOs that are doing a good work in the fight against menstrual poverty. Maybe you could mention some few and maybe give ideas on how best they can make their work a little bit more easier. How do you think it can be done? Mention the names and maybe give ideas on how their work can be made easier and how they can reach more girls out there in the community.
So Derek has talked about how running a whole country is not easy, and I understand. But it should be easy for the government, because this is what we elected them to do. They promised us the best, so it really should be easy for them. Everyone should add value.
The best shall come. There is a minister that has that saying. So, colleague, the best shall come.
And we want the best now because time is out. We don't play around with time. So everyone is placed in their profession. So we really expect the government to do its best. So a lot of NGOs are helping the government out because just as you can have a PA,
are they playing the government's role or
they are helping the government out?
The government. Or they are playing its role?
Somehow they might be playing its role because
because the government maybe is neglecting its own people and the NGOs are
taking over.
The government has put in place people who should reach in certain places or people who should reach to everyone. So there is a chain of movement that is put by the government, but it is not enough. That's why our non-government organizations are also coming in to provide support, which is not bad. We still need even more others because Uganda as a country is growing on the fastest pace. So we really urge the available NGOs to continue. We really appreciate its support, but we urge it to continue providing support to the girl child, more so those that are far away. By the way, you may forget, a lot of people are in Kampala, but they can't afford sanitary towels.
In Kampala, and you can't afford the sanitary pad?
Yes, I think Kampala has the majority of street children. I'm very sure.
Oh, you mean the street children? Actually,
not only street children, there are more others.
We've not seen
this is a live example.
These free sanitary pads being provided to the street children. How do they handle this?
How do they maneuver to go?
We've not seen them being
situations.
offered free sanitary pads.
So that is the research of the government to do. We've left it to the government, but these girls are there. They're actually giving birth like nothing because
the ones on the streets.
Yes,
remember
you can see a street child,
and they are also producing.
Yes, you can see a street child having kids, one after the other, and you may not know who is who because you do not see them again. Every day you see a different street child, and they really need help. Some of these girls come from those areas where the government is trying to reach, those areas that are suffering a lot. So we really urge the government to look out for them as well, because they are also as innocent as they are, so that they don't just give birth but also be helped in one way or another. So we are not only looking at other areas that are so far away from Kampala, even in Kampala itself there is need for help. So we urge the NGOs to look at it as well, as they are in this struggle of helping out each and every girl.
But when you look at the girl children, all the people on the streets, there's a lot of disorganization, and maybe providing them with the necessary sanitary products could be difficult, maybe in form of mobilization. What do you think is the easiest way or the easiest method that can be used? Because you may find people, if you street children in Kololo, you find some on Kampala Road, you find, so they are very dispersed. Don't you think helping them out could also be difficult? Or what recommendation do you make can make it the easiest way to make sure that they are reached out to?
Especially when it comes to coming up with structures.
So these kids, these girl children, they are for the government. So the government has to find ways of structuring these kids that are on the streets, because there are so many, and each time they come in, I don't even know whether they go out or they just come in only. But there must be a way of collecting them, because they come along and they learn a lot of survival ways, and maybe at the streets it's survival for the fittest, so you may not know how to help them. But there should be structure for helping these children, taking them and also advising them to go back to school, giving them place to live, Because most importantly, while they are on the street, they don't have food and they don't have shelter. If you can provide such homes for shelter and food, because when they have shelter, maybe food could be easy to reach them. Maybe speaking to them and advising them would be easy, and taking them back to school, because we have so many UPE schools around where they can go. I don't know how they work, because nowadays you hear someone is in UPE, but then they have to pay school fees. I don't understand. But we leave that to the government to do research as much as it can, but also find ways of helping these street children.
We can all see that very many young ladies are actually subjected at risk, and it calls for active participation from all of us, both the young ladies, even men at large, because if we keep quiet, there is not going to be change. So we must come up and fight for free sanitary pads. As we are winding up, as we are wrapping up with the show, there is something I always believe in. I believe in hope. So I would love you, Brenda, maybe to send a message to the young ladies that are going through this. What is that you must give them? What message do you give them for them to stay motivated and have hope that everything will be fine?
Everything will definitely be fine, because we've come a long way. We've come a long way here to see progression in certain things that are done, and we really hope for improvement. We really hope for the best. The best is yet to come. So the government is hearing us, certain organizations are hearing us, and we know they will wake up to work. We call upon other people who are interested in helping, because a helping hand is more blessed than a receiving hand. So we pray that those who are hearing our voices might show up and show concern on this subject. And we call upon NGOs, for example, Concern for Girl Child. It has really done a great job, and we appreciate it, and we urge it to not stop. Continue to reach out to as far as you can go. Action for Women in Vulnerability, we also appreciate you, but we urge you to continue and go as much as you can. And the orphanage centers for young girls, we thank you for the work you're doing, but still we call upon you to reach out to many as you can, because a lot of people need your support and help. So since we've come up to this far, we believe for improvement, and we believe that this problem will one time be just in history.
Well, this has been a very engageful conversation in this fight for menstrual equity or against menstrual poverty. This is the Bridge Talk Show. Don't forget to follow, like, and comment on our Instagram, on our TikTok, and on our Twitter handles. The Bridge Talk Show, where stories meet. God bless you all.